What's up, guys? So I want to talk about the three top Yankees offensive prospects, right? Anthony Volpe, Oswald Peraza, and obviously the Martian Jasson Dominguez. Now, there's a couple of things about them that are important to point out, and also there's some things to keep in mind that the effect on these three guys can kind of have a ripple effect on what the major league team does as well. So, and what I mean by that is, you've got two of them that are shortstop prospects, so it could have an effect on what the Yankees decide to do with Gleyber Torres, whether they keep him or trade him or move him to a different position, which can also affect other things. That's why I keep saying that the Yankees have some important decisions to make at first base and third base this offseason. And these are some reasons why, because of these two guys. Okay, it also can help them. Their progression can help them decide whether they also want to, maybe go long term with one of these shortstop studs this offseason, like a Corey Seager or somebody like that. So, and it's having the Yankees think, well, why invest $200 million in Seager when we have one of these guys who could be a shortstop of the future as well, and so on. So there's a lot of decisions to be made based on what these two prospects do. Okay, and then you have Jasson Dominguez as well. Who is the Martian, who's the number one rated Yankee. Actually, he's number two now. Volpe's number one. But I'm going to go over a couple of things here that are important to point out. Okay, so we'll start with Volpe. He's had a very successful kind of minor league run so far, and he's progressed quickly from low A ball to high A ball. Okay, and he's playing 80 games so far, and between the two, and he's hitting 20 home runs, 28 stolen bases, and a .303 batting average in 2021 alone. Okay, and he's got really, really good baseball instincts as well. And he's definitely on his way to be moved up to Double-A, which I'm guessing he'll probably start in 2022 in Double-A ball. So, that's Volpe. Oswald Peraza, he progressed rapidly from A to Double-A, single A to Double-A. And also this year in 2021. And he's so right now in Somerset, he's batted .285, which is Double-A, 8 home runs, 27 RBIs, 786 OPS, and he also has an elite glove. So he's a great defensive player as well. And he's another guy who's progressing pretty rapidly, and I could see him starting 2022 in Triple-A. I could. Now, Jasson Dominguez, he's 18 years old, so that's something to keep in mind. This is his first try or first go at pro ball. And keep in mind, too, 2020, was a setback for everybody because of COVID. There was no minor league season, so these guys essentially lost the year of development. Volpe was drafted in 2019. So, but Dominguez so far, and he's kind of had an up and down season this year in low A ball. Hot, cold, hot. His first cold stretch, or his first 9 games, he batted .324, and he had .390 on-pace percentage, and he slugged .514. Then his next 11 games, he batted .143, was 6 for 42. And then the last 10 games, .324 again, 409 on-base percentage, and a .432 slugging percentage. So he's heating back up. He's got 3 home runs. He's got a couple stolen bases, and he's showing the potential that he has. But keep in mind, he's only 18. So, and one of the things that he needs to work on is his strikeout rate. He strikes out almost 32% of the time. So that's something that he needs to address as well. And he will over time with more experience, more bats and stuff. But one of the major components or major signs of progression and development is the leap from single A to Double-A. So, and this is in minor league kind of a developmental milestone. So it's important to keep in mind, or just to watch what Volpe does and watch what Jasson Dominguez does. Peraza's already up in Double-A, so I'm looking to see his jump from Double-A to Triple-A. But single A to Double-A jump is one of the most significant milestones of the development of a minor leaguer. So, and both of them are kind of trending towards that milestone. I mean, Jasson Dominguez might move up from low A to high A, or he might just move up from low A to Double-A. I don't know. But I think they're going to be somewhat responsible. I hope that they're responsible with him and don't rush him too quickly, unless his progression kind of shoots through the roof and it forces them to. But it's those two guys are are going to have significant impacts in terms of what the Yankees decide to do moving forward. At the point after next year, I mean, Dominguez could be knocking on the door of AAA from AA. Who knows? And then you have next year, you have Judge and Gallo free agents after next season. So again, these types of decisions could have a factor, or could be part of the factor on what they do with Jasson Dominguez, just like Torres and some of these other guys, Gio, whoever, could be impacted on what they decide to do with Volpe and Peraza, or free agent shortstop. So their progression over the next year or two is going to be critical in terms of the Yankees' decision-making process. So, but I wanted to talk about these three guys, give you kind of some information on how they're progressing, and the next year, I mean, the rest of this year, obviously in 2022, is going to be a huge factor in terms of what they do. So, and if they keep progressing the way that they're progressing, the Yankees are going to have even some tougher decisions to make, and I've mentioned moving Judge in a trade, or, deciding whether they, lock him up long term next year. Remember, he's going to be almost 32. So, it's not like he's 27, 28, where locking him up to a 6 or 8 year deal makes a lot more sense. He's going to be almost 32. So it's something to keep in mind with regards to like a Jasson Dominguez and some of these other guys that they have. So, and Jasson Dominguez himself could, with the way if he keeps progressing, they could decide to not re-sign Gallo, and I don't know, use Estevan Florial as a stopgap, or Greg Allen as a stopgap until Dominguez is actually ready to take over, if he keeps progressing that way. So there's a lot of things that are going to be factors in their decision-making process. So those three guys I wanted to talk about today. Let me know what you think. I mean, these are their updated stats on these guys, whether you think all three have a legitimate future on the Yankees team. If any of these guys would be moved in a trade for a significant starting pitcher, my guess is it would be Peraza. I see Volpe's ceiling is higher than Peraza, and obviously Dominguez is an outfielder, so a little bit different, but I would imagine Peraza would be expendable in a trade for a very, very, very high-end starting pitcher. Probably the only person, the only position I would trade a Peraza for. Other than that, you keep him and let him develop, and then you could have some guys here, some really, really good young talent in the near future. And then now you're starting to look like the Blue Jays and the Padres with this young, dynamic, talented players. Yankees have a lot more of them. And I'm not saying Torres isn't good. He's only 24, and but he's also up and down and up and down. So, but obviously his talent level is very high. But you have these guys knocking on the door now, and it's going to force the Yankees to make some tough decisions. So let me know what you think about this, guys. Talk to you then.